was shaking. Luke didn't seem as traumatized as me, but if I looked closely, I could see him trembling too. Mason had left to go get something, and somehow no one had stopped him. I waited quietly for him to come back and sniffled back my running nose as quietly as I could. Mason entered the room with my crutches, and I stood up to take them from him with a faint smile. He made sure I was steady on them before he let go and took a step back. "We're going back to our room," Mason announced. No one answered, so the three of us began walking across the floor until the leader stood up from the couch and took a few big strides towards me, pulling one of the crutches from my grasp. I shrieked a little with surprise, and my whole body twisted, trying to stay upright. I managed to right myself and balance easily with just the one crutch, but then he took that one away too. I could see the anger in Mason's face as he turned around to meet him, but I didn't say anything. I grabbed onto Mason's forearm and looked the evil bastard in the face. "Can I please have my crutches back?" I asked confidently. "Please? Are you saying please?" He turned to the rest of the group and laughed. She said, "Please." "I can say something else if you want," I said, gripping Mason's arm a little tighter. "Nah, I like that you said please." He smiled, and then broke one of the crutches over his knee. Well, shit. I stared at him with a gaping mouth, unsure of what to say or do. If I said something, he might break the other one. But if he broke it anyway. But he broke it anyway. He just snapped the other one over his knee too, and threw it to the side. I flinched at the crash of it landing on the floor and sliding across the wood. "I thought you were going back to your room," he said. I scowled at him and tightened my grip on Mason's arm. Without any other words, he picked me up and carried me back to the washroom, with Luke close behind. Mason was shaking me awake and already putting a finger to his mouth and shushing me before I had a chance to ask him why he was waking me up. I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes and looked over to see Luke zipping up a backpack. "Are we leaving?" I whispered. Mason nodded. "We have a lot of stuff. We packed all the cloths and towels and first aid stuff from under the sink, so we have more than we had before we got here." His low, soft voice kept me calm, but I still panicked thinking about the fact that I had nothing to help me walk. "That guy broke my crutches." "I know. I'm going to carry you on my back." "But there are 3 backpacks." He smirked and put his arm through his backpack straps, but so the bag was on his chest instead of his back. Then he grabbed the smallest bag, with his 2 hunting spears sticking out the top, and handed it to me, so I put it on. He tilted his head to the side in a motion I think was telling me to climb onto him, and when he put his arms out behind him, I knew that was exactly what he was saying. I made sure the straps were tight over my shoulders, and I buckled the waist belt so it didn't move around so much, and then I stood up on the edge of the tub and wrapped my arms around his neck. He jumped a little and shimmied me a bit, and then hooped his arms under my knee and half leg. I knew my right leg was going to come out of his grasp really easily since I didn't have the rest of it to wrap around him, but it was all we had. Mason and Luke started tiptoeing toward the door when I gasped. "Mason, your axe," I whispered. "I have it," Luke replied, turning around a little so I could see it coming out of his bag. I nodded, and Mason slowly opened the door. We were afraid of lighting any matches or torches to light our way through the dark house because we didn't want anyone to wake up, so we felt our way through, trying to be as quiet and careful as possible. But once we were probably about halfway through the house, Luke must have walked into something, because we heard a clatter that seemed to rattle the entire house. "Shit," Luke whispered. "Keep going, just keep going," I said into Mason's ear. But I heard footsteps that weren't our own, and they were definitely coming our way. But why wasn't the person saying anything? just unsure of what to do. Nervous. "Come with us," I said. Mason turned his head a little to try and look at me, but his neck wouldn't reach. I could tell he was giving me a look anyway, though. But why would he? Had he not noticed how uncomfortable she was in that group? But then he held out his hand, palm up and open, welcoming. Gwen bit her bottom lip for half a second, and then placed her hand in his. Okay, that was really short, so I'm going to read the next chapter. So, chapter 20. Gwen kept pacing behind us and running off in different directions between the trees before catching up to us again. I had no idea what she was doing, so I whispered to Mason, asking him if he knew what was up. "Covering our tracks," he said, throwing them off. I nodded and shifted myself in his grip because I could feel myself slipping a little. Mason had to keep doing this little skip-jump thing to shift me on his back, and for some reason, after a while, it started to hurt my right leg. I didn't understand why, because it wasn't doing anything. It was just sitting there. But it started to throb by the time the sun was coming up. "Do you think we can stop for a bit?" I asked. No one answered me. Gwen was walking beside us in the area where the trees were less dense at that point, and I could see her exchanging looks with everyone. "My leg is hurting." I tried again. "Which leg?" Mason asked, not slowing down. "My right one." You don't have a right leg," Gwen said. "Shut up," I shot at her. "But you don't." She almost said it like a question. "It hurts where I cut it off," Mason sighed, slowing down. He looked around and then slipped me off his back. "I'm sure it's safe by now to stop and rest for a bit." "When he realizes that we're gone, he's going to follow us," Gwen said. "I'd like to have more than a few hours on him." Mason nodded, and I sighed, climbing onto his back again. "You need to rest," I said into his ear. "I'm fine." "But she covered our tracks." "It's fine," he said shortly, adjusting me on his back again. "But you're tired." "We're not stopping," Gwen said. "I'm not the best at covering tracks, so he might still be able to find us. And trust me, you don't want him to find us. You thought it was bad back at the house." She snorted and shook her head, but didn't say any more. It was quiet and awkward as we continued, and it pained me to hear Mason's labored breaths. His arms were shaking under my legs, but he kept going, so I shut up. I started to get tired, so I rested my head on the back of his shoulder. But before I could close my eyes, Gwen started yelling at us to move into the trees. My head shot back up, and I squeezed Mason's shoulders a little in panic. We trudged into the foliage and got back down behind some big trees. I slipped off Mason's back and kneeled down behind him, looking over his shoulder to see if anyone was coming. "You think it's them?" Luke whispered. Gwen shook her head. "I hope not." "Get on my back," Mason ordered in a hushed tone. "We need to be ready to leave in less than a second if we have to." "I'm getting too heavy," I whispered. I said, "Get on my back." "It's okay," Gwen said. "They're gone, and I don't think it was them." "You think there are any zombies around here?" Luke asked, looking around. "They're usually in more dense areas," Gwen said, "where there was a bigger population before the outbreak." "You know a lot about the outbreak?" Luke asked. Gwen shrugged. "Not really. My grandparents used to tell me what it was like for them, but I was little." Mason handed me a bottle of water, and I took a sip from it right away. "Thanks," I said. "Here, let me look at your leg," he offered. I scooted towards him on my butt and put my right thigh in his lap. His hands were cold, and I flinched when he touched me. "Sorry," he said. I just shrugged and shook my head. "It's really irritated from crawling the other day," he said, examining it. I winced when he touched it again and felt myself tense under his fingers. He paused and gave me a sympathetic look before looking at it again. Plus, it doesn't help that it's been rubbing against my side this whole time that we've been walking. I think we should cover it with something. "Okay," I said slowly, "but it really hurts. It's not that the skin that hurts, it's the muscle." "I know, sweetie." I sort of scrunched my eyebrows at him, confused, and he looked at me with a stunned expression, like he couldn't believe he just said that out loud. He cleared his throat and stumbled over his next few words. What I mean, I know it hurts more than that. I know your muscles are probably sore. The amputation is still fairly new, so it's going to be sore, especially when you crawl on it. I know that it hurts more than just on the surface, he said to me. But I'm worried about something getting into broken skin and getting it infected. Yeah, I said. Luke has your wound, Mason asked as he grabbed his bag and started unzipping it. It's fine, he replied. I'll take a look at it after. It's fine, Luke said again. I can look at it, Quinn said, sounding a little unsure of herself. We all raised our eyebrows at her. What? She asked. I know what I'm doing. You didn't sound like it, I said. Why did you ask me to come with you if you weren't going to trust me? You're right, I sighed. I said it's fine, Luke continued. I don't need anyone looking at it. Yes, you do, Mason said, pulling some bandages out of his bag and unwrapping them. We don't have a lot of this left, he said to me, and the supply for stuff like this is always going to be shrinking. Yeah, I know, I said. Unless I can get into another hospital. No, Luke, Quinn, and I all said at the same time. Are you crazy? Quinn asked. Mason shrugged, and then looked at my leg a bit more, touching it gently with his fingertips. I'll wrap it up and we can go, okay? He started to unroll the bandage a little bit and wrap it around the end of my leg. And every time his hand touched me or he smoothed the bandage out, it sent shivers up my arms and the back of my neck. Okay, how's Luke? Mason asked. Good. Healing well, Quinn said. Mason smiled. Great. Maybe we should keep going then. Quinn agreed, and I climbed onto Mason's back again. Your father wouldn't really hurt you if he found us, would he? I asked as we started on our way. I don't know if he'd hurt me, but he'd definitely hurt you guys. Why were you still with him? I asked. Quinn sighed and looked over her shoulder at me. Because he's still my father. But now you're running away from him. Yeah, before I didn't have anywhere else to go. I mean, I still love him, he's my father, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with him. Doesn't mean I have to stay with him if I have a better option. The sun was starting to set, and the air was getting chilly. Not only could I hear all of us shivering, but I could also hear Mason panting. We should stop, I said. It's not dark yet, he said. We're not stopping until it's dark. We need to set up camp, plus you're exhausted. He shook his head. I'm fine. Stop trying to act so tough. He turned his head toward mine, which was right on his shoulder, but his face was so close that I couldn't focus on the look he was giving me. I think he was smirking, though. Fine, he said. He set me down, and I started to rub my leg through the bandage, while Mason stretched his arms out and arched his back. Leave your leg for now, Mason said. But it hurts. I know, just leave it. Quinn kept looking around as she pulled things from her bag, which made me look around too. She stopped in the middle of pulling a blanket out and looked over her shoulder. I think we should keep going, she announced. They would stop and make camp at night, mostly because they would assume we are. They'd think that they have time to stop. If we keep going, we'll be that much farther ahead of them. But we're all so tired, I said, trying to hide the whine from my voice. You've been on Mason's back all day, how are you tired? I opened my mouth to say something, but nothing came out. I wanted to say that I meant everyone else was tired, not me. That Mason was extra tired because, like she said, I was on his back all day. He was carrying so much extra weight than everyone else and he needed to rest. But I couldn't get it out. If you know what your dad's group would do, then we should listen. Mason stood up and held out his hand to me, which I stared at instead of grabbing onto. Let's go. Let's keep walking. Quinn knows him the best, and if she says to keep going, then we keep going. But Mason, I started. I said I'm fine. I still hadn't taken his hand, so he wrapped his fingers around my wrist and pulled me to a standing position. If you're so worried about him, why don't first time since I got bitten, I felt like maybe I had something to live for, that I was actually a part of something, that I belonged, that I was wanted. But I guess I was wrong. Hey, Mason shouted at Quinn, letting go of my arm. We didn't have to bring you with us. Right, and we didn't have to bring her with us. Yes, we did. She can't even walk. Have you seen her hop? Luke said. She's a wicked hopper. Luke, not now, Mason said. Hopping's still slower than walking. I'm just saying, if it comes down to it, I would leave her behind. That's real nice, I said, subtly grabbing onto Mason again. I only needed a bit of help with my balance, but I didn't want to lose it and fall over during this argument and just prove her point. We let you come with us out of the goodness of our hearts, and you would leave me behind. You just tried to get us to trust you, and you would leave me behind. No, you let me come with you so I wouldn't wake up my dad and make him kill you. No, I argued. We let you come with us because I could tell how uncomfortable you were with them. I could tell you were out of your element. I could tell you wanted to leave. She scoffed and shoved her stuff back into her bag, zipping it up angrily and then throwing it over her back. Fine, do whatever the hell you guys want, but I'm going to keep going. We're coming, Mason said, leaning forward and sticking his arms behind his back. I sighed and climbed back onto him. He squeezed my thigh, I think as a reassurance, and walked quickly to catch up with Quinn. I hope you know that none of us would leave you behind. We're together now, so we stay together, he said. Great, Quinn said shortly. I'm serious. This isn't like the group you've been with. It isn't every man for himself. It isn't every person for themselves. She stopped walking, making Mason and Luke stop too, and she just stared into Mason's eyes. She stared with this intensity that I couldn't quite place. I didn't know if she was afraid or angry or just still unsure, but she stared at him for a good minute before she started to cry. I don't want to keep being afraid for my life, she cried softly, even though he's my dad. Sometimes I'm not sure if he'll hurt me or not. I slipped off Mason's back and stood behind him and gave him a little shove towards Quinn. He stepped into her, and she looked up at him as he got closer. You don't have to be afraid with us, he said, putting a hand on her shoulder. We're not like him. Okay, she said, straightening up. Then she looked at me. You can't be too careful, you know. You can't just trust people right away. I knew exactly how she felt. I knew how confusing it could be to be traveling with someone new, not knowing if they're planning on hurting you or not knowing if they had some sinister plan for letting you tag along, or if they actually just wanted to let you tag along. I knew how she felt. You can trust us, I said quietly. She nodded and took in a deep breath. I still think we should keep going. Maybe Luke can carry me for a bit, I suggested after another few hours. He's not strong enough. Excuse me, Luke said loudly. I am too. I'm bigger. Not by much. You're not carrying her. Maybe we should stop then, I said. Quinn sighed and nodded. No tents, though. I want to be ready to move in 3 seconds if we need to, and one person stays awake at all times. I wasn't thrilled about sleeping without a shelter, but I'd done it before, so I guess I could do it again. I sat down and started rubbing my leg again, but Mason narrowed his eyes at me and told me to leave it alone. Ugh, I huffed and leaned my back against a tree. I tried to sleep, but it was hard. I leaned into Mason's side and he wrapped an arm around me to keep me warm, but I couldn't keep my head clear of the things that Quinn said. I still felt awful about it. Even though she seemed to come around, a part of me still believed that she would leave me behind if she needed to. I knew that Luke and Mason would, but at what cost? Making sure I didn't get left behind could get us all killed. And even just from Mason carrying me, I might have been slowing him down with other things. He definitely wouldn't be able to run as fast with me on his back, and his muscles were going to be protesting against him tomorrow, that's for sure. He was going to be so stiff and sore that he wouldn't be able to use his axe the same way or throw his spear as well. I thought I was getting through this. I thought I was finally feeling better about everything, but at that moment as I tried to fall asleep, all I wanted to do was scream. Get up, Quinn Quinn said in a hushed voice. We're moving, let's go. The night hadn't completely passed over, so we couldn't have been sleeping for more than a few hours. But if Quinn said it was time to go, then it was time to go. Is someone coming? Luke asked, putting his bag back on. I saw torchlights. They're sort of far away, but I'd like for them to be farther. What are we going to do? My stomach twisted into knots, and I felt bile rising up in my throat as I imagined Quinn's dad finding us and shooting us all. We're going to backtrack a little. They'll keep heading in the same direction. They'll never catch us if we go where they've already looked, Mason said. Quinn gazed at him, and I could tell that she felt jealous she hadn't thought of that first. Mason motioned for me to get on his back again, but I shook my head. Switch bags with Luke, I said. He can carry me. We're not arguing about this, Mason said sternly. I know we're not, so switch bags with Luke so I can get on his back before they find us. Mason huffed and took the smaller bag off his chest and handed it to Luke. Luke gave him his backpack that had Mason's axe strung through it, and I climbed onto Luke's back after he secured his new bag to his chest. Mason glared at me the whole time, but I just shrugged. Mason would fall over soon if he kept carrying me. This was better. It was better. We walked carefully through the trees and made our way back in the same direction we had come. We went off course a little bit, so we didn't meet up with the group head-on. Everyone stepped lightly and rolled their feet beneath them so they wouldn't break any twigs or make noises too loudly. Everyone stepped lightly and rolled their feet beneath them so they wouldn't break any twigs or make noises too loudly, and I just tried to keep my breathing steady. The closer we got to the torchlight, the faster my heart raced. I held tighter onto Luke and tried to match my breath with his, but it was hard. I was shaking. Quinn held her arm up, and we stopped, listened, waited to see what was happening. I saw the lights in the distance, almost directly to our left. They're still going in the direction we originally headed, Quinn said. Mason shrugged and gave a half smile as if to say, I told you so, and Quinn rolled her eyes. We walked farther and changed directions a few times, but I ended up falling asleep against Luke's back. Every time he adjusted me, it would wake me up, but not enough for me to be able to open my eyes, just enough to be slightly aware of what was going on around me. You doing okay? I heard Mason ask in a low voice. I'm fine. How's your wound? Shit, I forgot about Luke's stomach. He was recovering from being shot, and he didn't even protest carrying me. I'm fine. I asked you how your wound was, not you, Mason said. Shit. I was a horrible, selfish person making an injured guy carry me. It hurts, but I'm fine, Luke finally said. Here, pass her to me. I said I'm fine, Mason. It just went through my muscle. It's not like it ripped through something important. I groaned and lifted my head up. I tried to slide off Luke, but he kept hold of me. Go back to sleep, Luke said. No, I don't want you to hurt anymore. I'm sorry, I forgot about your stitches. Here, just hand her over. I managed to get out of Luke's grasp and step onto the soft ground. Luke changed bags with Mason in silence, and then Mason held a hand out to me. I stood between them for a few seconds, unsure of what to do. I wanted to sit on the ground and let them go without me, except I didn't want them to go without me. I knew they should. I knew it was best for the three of them. If they left me behind, they would have a better chance at survival. And the fact that I knew that, but I didn't want to stay behind anyway, made me feel like crying. Every bad thought was flooding into my head, and I couldn't hold myself up. I couldn't swim in the thoughts that were drowning me, telling me I was holding Mason, Luke, and Quinn back, telling me they were better off without me. I cleared my throat and managed to hold back the tears, and reluctantly climbed onto Mason. I had a break from carrying you, Mason said, so I had time to get my strength back. Plus, I feel like a badass being the one with the axe, Luke said, with a hint of a smile in his voice, always trying to lighten the mood. I had no idea setting it on the ground. Mason stayed with me and helped me sit, leaning us both against the tree behind us. "You doing okay?" he asked. I scrunched my eyebrows at him, trying my hardest to hide what I was really feeling. "Yeah, why wouldn't I be okay?" "Well, that was a lot of intense stuff that happened back there at the house, and we haven't really had much time to talk about it." "I'm fine," I said, trying